without the microphone. Welcome to our traditional Masterclass, started now many years ago without a stoppo. Good way to start.
Yes.
Yes.
Hard to follow.
We have contests, we've had sessions, we've had some great master classes. So we know this is going to be another one. We're looking forward to it. We spend our week and our years and our career breaking down singing into tiny pieces the size of a gene and acoustic aliquots. But most of us joined this field because of our love of music. The Masterclass is designed to remind us why we came here, but also, especially for the non-singing teachers, to provide ear training. For those of us who are physicians and not singers and even speech-language pathologists, one of the lessons you should learn this evening is the difference in sound between good and really good. All of our singers are going to sound wonderful to you. And when John MacMaster is finished with them, they will sound better. If you can go away a little more able to detect those kinds of differences, you will also be better able to detect the slight differences between normal and something minor is wrong. The singer and singing teacher can hear clearly, but we not always quite so well. So that's the academic part of this evening. The rest of it's just plain fun. Our honored Masterclass teacher this evening is John MacMaster. His bio is in the program, and I won't take away too much time. He is a master Metropolitan opera heroic tenor, has sung for years, has great recordings, has a continued love for choral music. You should listen to his Beethoven's Ninth sometime if you haven't. But he has dedicated this part of his career to teaching. He is professor at McGill, and they are lucky to have him, as you are about to hear. John, thank you.
Consider coming over here. There'll be latecomers, and they're going to feel like they have to stand. I'll tell them to come over here, but feel free to come closer. You don't just sit behind me. Over here. Just a couple of notes before I begin. And this may be obvious to all of you. If it's news, well, that's a good thing too. A master class, and I say this especially for the singers who've, I'm sure, done master classes before, is 15 or 20 minutes with somebody who doesn't know you. Hopefully I know the rep. Hopefully I have a few things to offer. But it's 20 minutes. And it is not the relationship that you have with your teachers, with your coaches. So it's a snapshot. It's what happened tonight in this room, and take the information for what it's worth. Put it into your mix and consider, everyone says that. It's still an issue, or I've never heard that before, that's a great idea, or that's a concern, or I don't think he knows what he's talking about, or, which is entirely possible, right? Or that's not an aesthetic choice that interests me. I don't want to go in that direction. Okay? All of that is good. But what we're going to do here, I'm going to ask you to indulge me. You'll start off with a performance, and then we're going to play. We're going to switch out of performance mode and allow ourselves to experiment a little bit, even though there's folks here. But these folks are all very, very interested in how music continues to live and how we continue to live and survive as musicians through their work. And so let's let them experience our play as we try things, not knowing whether they'll work or not. And let's let them in on the process of how to do that. Is that okay? Are you willing to take that on? Okay, great. Without further ado, I think Bob, you're going to introduce our second singer.
First, I will introduce our orchestra.
Yes.
Our first singer this evening is Burke Barber. She is a soprano from Philadelphia, so she has to be wonderful. This fall 2024 season, Mary will be in Florida Grand Opera as a resident artist. She performed recently with Sarasota Opera for the winter 2024 season as a studio artist, and in the winter of 2023 was there as an apprentice artist. Mary began her music studies at Peabody with Phyllis Bryn-Jolson. She completed a joint undergraduate degree with the Yang Siu To Conservatory of Music at the National University of Singapore. And she completed her master's degree at Peabody under the tutelage of our friend and former honoree, Denise Graves, and the wonderful Peggy Baruti.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Burke Barber, and I would love to sing one momento for you all. This aria, right before this aria takes place, Musetta and her, what would you say, Alcindoro, who's like her present, sugar daddy. Nice term for it. There isn't one. Her donor of sorts. They go to the cafe and meet Mimi and her friends, and they happen to see Musetta's ex-lover. And so this aria is sung to grab his attention.
What
voice, wonderful poise. What am I supposed to do?
You're selecting, don't worry.
I'm not worried at all. Really, you bring an awful lot to this. I was kind of watching the score and watching you at the same time. Perhaps you were doing this and I just wasn't catching it. Do you place in your mind, do you place Marcello and El Chandoro in the room?
I do, I just wasn't quite sure where they are when I started, and I realized that like halfway through, I was like, ooh, I didn't make that choice.
And so that's okay, because we can always correct that kind of thing. As you get further into it, you're poking him a little bit more.
Right.
So let's say that that's one of the things you hadn't thought of, and we're basically addressed here.
Right.
But then all of a sudden you can direct something at you can direct something at Marcello. You can play, right? So you can always move into that, right?
Yeah.
It's not something you can't remember everything. And for us watching you, whether it's in an audition or you're doing a concert in a daughter's home, like something like this, you're going to be flustered. So when we see you add stuff, then we just see the whole thing grow.
Right.
So one of the biggest challenges in singing Puccini generally, right, are all of these rubato, the rum-time, and I think you can do a little bit more to grab the time back after your rouse. And for those of you that have never looked at a Puccini score, just pull one up, look up Quando Vengo online. And just see how, there's a rallentando, one measure later, there's a retard to the rallentando, and then there's a subito tempo. And when you try and sing these things, it's like, how do I reconcile this?
Right.
So I think what we're just going to do is start at the beginning and see what we can do to reconcile this.
Okay.
So I think the key thing that I'd like you to think about is gaining the time back.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
And forgive me, I'll stop you this time.
Oh, please.
Okay?
Yes. Thank
Good.
you.
But when you start quando vengo, what do those words mean?
It means when I'm going.
Exactly, right? And I want you to show me what you feel like. That everyone watches me.
Right.
Because I am so beautiful, and I'm always so beautifully dressed. Thank you, Algebra.
Right.
So really enter into that, right? You've only got a couple of minutes to make these guys go crazy, right? And you're going to help those actors on stage if you play it out. So I just encourage you to go, all right? And then, for instance, when we had then you've got another orgando here. Feel the contrast, right? If there's too much contrast, the conductor will surely tell you.
Right.
Trust me. But I find with conductors and directors, it's better to just bring your game. Come in, show them stuff. If they don't like it, then they'll tell you. But you've got to express your artistic sensibility.
Right.
Otherwise, they're going to feel like they have to feed you. Here I'd like you to speed up. Here I'd like you to speed up more. Just go for it.
Yes.
One more time from the beginning. So those two big thoughts, right? Really, we have to always consider these characters in terms of our time and their time, right?
Right.
I like to try and think of her. Maybe you tell me how you think of her now. Don't play then, play now. So she's not a coquette,
No.
at all, right? But she's got agency. So play her agency.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked her the question and answered. gorgeous. This is great. You're doing very, very well with what I asked in terms of the tempo. Felice mi fa means what?
It means that it's making me happy. Like
Great. Show me that.
Okay.
Show me that because you're still playing the guys off against me.
Right.
These makes me so happy. I was reading one commentary. I prepare for these things too. Sure, I've heard this 1,000 times, but let's think about it. A colleague friend of mine writes a column called Schnockra. Jenna Simonov.
Yeah.
And she was saying, and she writes these wonderful commentaries about arias, which are fun to read from a coach's point of view. And she's lovely. Take this to your voice teacher. But here, do this, do that. And one of the comments she made here about this, Felice mi fa felice. She said, take your time there. She said, I have the impression that Rosetta is one of those women that's always 10 minutes late for things. And I thought, what a great thought. So enjoy Felice mi fa. Felice. Because I'm so special. All right, can we just get into that? And then we'll let you go on. That's so hard to do. Okay? For those of you singers, you know. I'll just say this not to correct you because that was exemplary, but if you were working with somebody and thinking about a decrescendo like that, one of the words that I like to think, that I like to use is shedding weight. Shedding weight in the voice, rather than feel like you're dialing down from 11 down to 2 on a stereo system. Another one that a coach once mentioned in my hearing was to think about using terraced dynamics instead of looking for a very gradual decrescendo. To think, you know, forte, mezzo piano, piano. That you'll get the same effect, but you won't feel like you've got because you're going to play that part,
Right.
which you're doing so well. But I'm used to trying to find things to say. Did you say that's what she?
Yes.
You okay to hear that? Six now, very good. No, that's fine, because you brought something else, didn't you? Do you mind?
Sure. I also have hockey feels. All of these artists are very new.
Really? Now that I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah. Yes.
Voice teachers here, would you have guessed that?
No.
He's ready on this one.
Mary, tell us about your switch.
Yes. So I have been a mezzo. Sarasota Opera last season surprised me and said, "Hey, we're going to give you Michaela." And I was like, "Okay." So
They hired you as a mezzo and just decided to give you Michaela?
yes.
Where was this, Florida Grant?
No, this is at Sarasota. So I spent the last 3 months as a soprano, and now I decided that feels great. So everything is brand spanking new.
Well, it certainly sounds great to me. I would not have guessed that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I do have hockey cues. I will admit I'm not sure how memorized it is.
Oh, that's fine.
Or I have shitty.
Whatever you like. Oh, hockey first, Sarah.
Okay, all right. Oh,
A couple of thoughts. How do you feel about, can everyone hear me all right if I'm still speaking?
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you feel about singing in German and consonants in particular?
I love singing in German.
Good.
I like that the consonants, I really feel like I can use my ear to
Yeah.
really move through the words better than
Good.
other languages.
And I feel like when we really sing with a lot of engaged pronunciation, it brings the voice forward. And we have at least a hope of our audience hearing words. And even if they don't understand words, when it doesn't sound like we're singing syllables, they
Right.
kind of get a sense of stuff going on. So I would encourage you to go even further
Okay.
in your engagement of the consonants in a German aria like this one.
Okay.
Now, everything I'm saying now is a little bit unfair because this is new. So that's not meant as a criticism that you didn't do enough. No, but I'm saying that to them. They should understand that when a piece is this new, I'm going to say something else about the drama, but when a piece is this new, I'm not critiquing, I'm suggesting what can come next. Okay? About halfway through, I think it was when you got to Zitamino, I could really see that you were seeing someone, you were more engaged. Earlier on, your eyes, I think you were thinking so much about the words. This is my answer. See, when you've been there, that's not, you've been there, you know. Okay, I need to stop. But I was just going to say, as you become more familiar with it, you'll be able to find the kind of involvement in the drama. You don't have two people to sing to as you did in the Puccini, but you want that aliveness on your face. Wonderful singing. Pleasure to hear you. What a gift.
John, I'm going to ask you a question, certainly, and bring up a possible discussion point.
Yeah.
This is very interesting. I would have loved to have heard her sing as a mezzo. Just for a moment, because people have different reactions to people singing in possibly the wrong fa, possibly she just has that kind of versatility with her voice. But the first reaction is, oh, she sang easier music at a lower fa and saved her voice, and that's why she sounds so healthy. But it's sadly extremely possible to sing in the wrong fa, even a lower fa, and really damage yourself.
Especially if you're trying to produce some kind of a sound that,
There's some,
you know, you're modeling yourself after somebody else. So
Yeah.
what I would say in that regard, as somebody who teaches in a university, where some of my students start, they're as young as 17. I remember one day, we have a junior college system in Quebec. Before you enter university, you do 2 years in what's called CEGEP, a collegial program. And we teach some of those kids, they come to McGill for their lessons. So I had this young man present himself, and he was singing an art song, and he began to sing, and his voice had changed yet. He was 16, hadn't yet turned 17. I mean, the shock on my face, I hope I didn't show anything, but I said the last thing I expected was to hear, an alto. So from 17 to, some of our master students are only 22 or 23. As much as I can get away with it, I do not even name voice tones. I just don't. I think most of us teach voice from the middle out. We find pitches that work in the middle of the voice, and then we're constantly expanding the range up and down from that. And it's not like, well, this 6 months we're going to find a minor third on top. The voice stretches. But I think naming things too early is really detrimental. And I'm hearing people's agreement, so I'm glad to hear that. Because when we say, oh, I think you're, I had a guy come into my studio. He was about 18 and a half, tall, beautiful looking man. He said, Mr. MacMaster, I wanted to study with you because I feel I have the same voice as you do. So I want to study with you to sing this dramatic repertoire. And, it's first meeting, We've signed up for 4 years, and So I said, well, thank you. That's a wonderful compliment, and we'll see how that goes. tell you that I didn't sing any of that repertoire until I was in my 40s. So, we've got some work to do. I'm not sure that we ever really came back from that. He finished his degree and, went off in different directions. But I think it's definitely to answer the crux of your question. There are two aspects to assigning voice counsel, establishing what voice counsel are. The one is the range, and the other is tenor or color. And those are separate issues. In a music school like McGill or many, many others, we're going to have lots of women who are going to apply as mezzos because they haven't got high notes yet. Well, that's okay. We have lots of tenors without high notes. And some of them present as baritones or whatever, but it's really a thing about young voices. And I am much more interested when I'm auditioning people to look for some kind of artistry, just look for something interesting, something people with something to say, or even 4 or 5 really good notes somewhere. It's like, oh my God, we're going to have fun with this, right, as we build it out. So that's kind of my reaction, but it could be a good discussion. But maybe we'll go through the singers and come back to it at the end because I would love to give people an opportunity.
Thanks for that. Oh, yeah. At least many of us will agree with exactly what you said. And have been saying it from a medical standpoint for a long time. And the nice thing about those errors is it makes lots of patience.
Yeah, but we never get in to see it.
Morgan Andrew King is a bass from New Zealand. He graduated with a postgraduate certificate of professional studies in opera from Curtis here in Philadelphia, and received a bachelor's degree from the Te Koki New Zealand School of Music. He has received numerous prestigious scholarships and mentorships from Dame Kiri Takanawa, the Dame Malvina Major Foundation Scholarship, and many, many more. He was also a member of the New Zealand Opera School in 2021 and 2023. Morgan has performed operatic roles in the US, Italy, Australia, and New Zealand. And he frequently performs as a bass soloist in choral works across New Zealand. Morgan?
Hello everybody, my name is Morgan, and today I'll be singing In Felice tuo credermi from Verdi's Ernani. And in this scene, my character, Silva, finds out that his betrothed, Elvira, is actually in love with Ernani and also has another suitor going for her. And so I'm upset. Similarly, as it brings not only dishonor to her, but also dishonor to me and my house. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. I mean vocally tired, I mean, that was shorthand. It's a marvelous sound. I feel sometimes on the top, you push more than you need to. That's one thought or question. Then I would say that there are places here, and it's not uncommon in Gaudium where there's lots of repeated notes, where I think what you want to do is decide where you really want to sing with a big bound legato and go through, and where you need to release tension, so that you're not just walloping all the way through. And we're going to look at a couple of places like that. One little thought for you. You often close your eyes while you're singing, or they become half-lidded. You've heard that before, that's what that smile is. So, I mean, I understand that when we're very passionate about something, for those of us like me with a heavy brow, when I close my eyes, or even just turn to the floor because I'm so, you can't see me. I mean, you can see me, but you can't see my eyes. You can't see the window to the soul, right? So I think we need to be, as singers, we need to be very, very careful to choose where we're going to allow ourselves to close our eyes. There are places in here where we're overwhelmed with the betrayal. And so to turn away, and that could motivate your movement more. When I was happy to see you moving around, but I'd like to see a greater motivation for it, so you don't look like you're wandering. But if you're singing, you know, I can't believe it, then to turn away and close your eyes, but then come right back at us with the fury and the pain, so we can see it, right? So just be careful of not closing your eyes too much, please, I would say. All right, let's start at the beginning with what we would think of as a quasi-recipe. And let's see on those repeated C's that you have, if we can see where, well, all of the repeated notes throughout, that where you can decide where I want to really go through and where I can release tension, and we'll stop behind this point. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, good. I will say this too. Young basses, I mean, it's always been said that the tenor voice is the hardest voice to teach, and that's because we're tenors, we're just hard to teach. but basses mature, they just vocally mature. And we need them. We're desperate for basses everywhere in the world. So nothing I should say should be discouraging to you. It's a long process. I remember singing one of my first gigs with San Francisco Opera with the young John Relier, who was an Adler fellow. And I had studied with his father, Gary. And, you know, the Adler fellows are all very accomplished. John, I mean, at the time, he'd be the first to admit it, was a bit of a mess. We were singing the Jews in Zalombo. And, I mean, it was like, you know, I was a guest. The other folks were quite accomplished, and it was kind of John. It was kind of like, well, I mean, he's gone on to do rather well for himself. But it's tough for basses. So part of the reason that I'm saying, let's make sure that you're not pushing or driving if you don't need to. Let it be a choice, because I want to save your voice as you're maturing, as you're growing into it. That's where I'm going. Please, begin. You heard it and you did it. See, when people can do things so quickly, I'm sometimes at a loss to figure out, you know, I'm just Now, exactly where we stopped. Entrato, right? Can we do that again? You're doing extremely well. Think about the text here and think what you want to line out and what can be easy as you talk to the caballero. Can we start there? Is that okay? See, for me, that's a little bit pressed. Entra, no bass, right? Entra, give me some, a little bit more life in the tone, a little bit more vibrato. Or is this not that's not a choice you want?
It's more of a command, but
It is,
Yeah.
but I don't want it to be pushed. Can we command with gesture, with nobility of stature, addressing them as you did, but don't press the voice? Can we have it all? I'm a very greedy person, as we know. Very good, I'm going to stop you there. Lean into that. This is a bit of a, not an actual saw, but let's hear the decorated note as your okay? Now, talk to me a little bit about posture. Has anyone kind of talked to you about this? Your stance or your breathing? Not so much. I'm seeing, do you mind if I touch you? Is that all right? I generally don't touch students at all. I'm cutting to the chase here a little bit because I'm dealing with an older person than some of them, I think. I always ask, and a big part of my practice is trying to get people to lay hands on themselves so that they can track what they're doing. Because as soon as I lay hands on them, we have the effect, right? Of just anyone touching you in the subway or whatever. So often enough when you're singing, I see the shoulders coming up and maybe your chest coming up too. That's nothing that's ever been said to you before. Okay. Tell me about how you think about breathing. Or you don't.
ish.
Ish, okay.
So a little back here, and then carrying this all the way. So that's probably what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to try and restructure all of that in 10 or 15 minutes. But I would suggest it might be fun for you to explore. First of all, we know that the mechanism of breathing, when the intercostal muscles pull out the ribs, it's a 360-degree thing. You might feel it more or less in your back, and that's fine where you feel things. But the structure is that the intercostals pull out, the diaphragm drops. And on somebody like me, you can see it so very, very easily. When I take that breath in, you see the expansion, right? Because as the diaphragm drops, the internal organs, the liver is connected to the underneath of the diaphragm. It drops and it moves out, and there's plenty of me to move. And so you can see that kind of expansion. When I hear you say, I drop and then, if I'm quoting you wrong, correct me, that you tuck. Is that?
I feel like the air's coming through.
Aha, okay, that's fine. But I would avoid this kind of baritone hook.
Oh,
Which you're not. Good, excellent, okay, fine. So the more that you can keep this expansion, higher I go, the more expansion I get. Now, am I continuing to breathe in? No, you can't breathe in while you sing. Even I go that. that give us this expansion, and I would say that's one definition of support. When I have that low kind of support, my sound continues to spin without being driven. And I'm just wondering, when we sometimes get that driven, pushed sound in your singing, if some of the way that you're going about breathing or supporting might be a part of it. So that's a question for you. You take that back to your teacher. They say, yeah, but see, he's a tenor. He doesn't know anything about all voices. That's okay. I would suggest there might be some 2 minutes. Good. All right, now, good work with that. There are more severe cuts in this aria. I think, you know, I would be inclined. Who do you listen to if you listen to somebody?
Siepi.
Yes, thank you. First on the list. Siepi. Vinza?
Vinza, Raub,
Fun, fantastic. If you look at Siepi's cut, for instance, it shortens this mightily in some of the YouTube videos. It just makes it that much more manageable for an audition or for a concert situation. They're going to tell you what they want, you know, but you can come back with cuts are not a bad thing. But you do very well. Now, can we go on in the couple of minutes that we have left? Let's go into the cavatina, please. if you've got lemons, make lemonade, right? So I would use that as expressive. If I get down there, if I could get down there, right, this minute, and it's not the sound that I want, I turn it into a dramatic choice. That's how moved I am. That's how upset I am. Okay? Don't just sit out there. Use it to your good effect. When we're at the extremes of our range, and in the middle of an opera, in the middle of 6 weeks of rehearsal, and then 12 performances or something, they're going to be nights like that. So just, learn to use those things to your advantage. It's a beautiful, beautiful voice, beautiful instrument, and you're young. You've got a lot of wonderful performances ahead of you, I can tell. Last comment, be careful not to look down so much. Okay? That's why I kept pointing up. It's not that I want your chin up, I don't want that either. It's that I don't want your gaze to fall regularly below the horizon with your eyes closed, because you disappear for us. Okay? And we never want you to disappear. Even when you're not singing, we want you over there doing things that are so interesting that we're like, oh gosh, that tenor's boring. I want to see doing it. Wonderful work. Thank you.
Isn't it fun listening to John talk about interpretation and then listening to the voices unique and open up just because of the framework is creative? That's what we want to hear. That's the mark of a great teacher, and great teachers often partly become great teachers because they have great teachers, and we should mention that John is a long-term student of our own Bill Riley.
Certainly am. Just a comment on that, though, and thank you, that's very kind. I'll say something about teaching master classes. If you were going to those famous ones at Juilliard where Callas taught or Pavarotti taught, you went hoping that they would say something. You paid good money to go. There's a trick in teaching master classes. If you ask somebody to just sing something a second time, it'll be better. But we don't usually say that. Usually say some magical kind of thing. Or think through, or some physical, and then they sing it, and we go. So a big part of the accomplishment of the singers today, if there were changes, is because they're so receptive to any suggestion, and they're also, I can't think of a better word, self-critical is not the right word because it's not about being critical. They're listening to the self-aware, in good words. They're self-aware. They're processing, I'm going to do that differently the next time. And then maybe I encourage them or somebody else, and they try something else. So a lot of it is on them. And these are things that we can't teach. We try and teach them. But, we can't teach charisma very well. We can teach interpretation. We can help them find low notes, high notes. But that kind of mind that's there, listening, gathering, thinking about their own work, but not being stuck in the past of, oh shit, pardon me, I forgot that. Or whatever. That's another story for another time. But anyway, enough of me. On to the next.
And most of our masterclass teachers over the years have sung very little, but you will enjoy the exception, at least it feels like it. A few years ago, Delora, and
Anything great?
You're not, but it's a memorable masterclass. I remember singing a small room.
I'm sure.
Kimberly Adam is a 19-year-old soprano born in the Philippines. She is an incoming sophomore in vocal performance at Juilliard, training with Bill Burke. She also was a student of our own Lisa Wilson Donalfo. That's her. One of our most successful teachers in Philadelphia in multiple genres. Absolutely. Kimmy has had extraordinary support from Rivera Fund sponsorship, the George and Nora London Foundation grant for 3 consecutive years during her pre-college years at Juilliard. In March 2024, she won first place in the Nats regional competition in Philadelphia for both the classical and musical theater categories. A tribute to her and to Lisa. She also won second place in the 2023 Schmidt National Vocal Competition, first prize in the regional 2022 Schmidt Vocal Competition at Temple University, and received the 2022 Bruce Montgomery Foundation's Springboard Grant. Kimmy has always dreamed of becoming an opera singer and a Broadway actress. She has been singing since she was 10 years old and studying classically since she was 12. She was a member of the Philippine Opera Company's Young Artist Series and was the youngest member of Opera One. Kimmy?
Hello, my name is Kimberly Adam, and I will be singing Laurie's song from the Tenor by Aaron Kosa. In this piece, Laurie is going to be graduating high school. Luckily, I already did that.
But luckily, it's not so far away that you can't remember it. Which is sometimes the case, right?
She's reflecting on her sheltered life, and she's both scared yet so excited for what is to come in the future.
to start at the beginning and sing the first 3 or 4 measures on your favorite vowel. And what I'm looking for is to see what kind of really bound legato you can get without pushing. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. It's going down to the D is a little bit of a challenge, okay? Give yourself time to go down to the D. Don't push, don't grab. Give yourself time. Okay? That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. You've already found what I was looking for. Okay? So let's just try that now again with the words. Give yourself time when you have a really wide leap like that into the lower part of your voice. Give yourself time for the voice to continue to vibrate. All right? You're all great actors. Right? Make it look like a choice. Not like, well, that guy told me to stop and take time to vibrate. Once I thought, there's nothing underneath you, half notes, right, in the orchestra, right? So you really have a lot of control. So let's try it with the words. Give yourself time. Always keep the voice vibrating. Good. One more time, and enjoy the triplet in tall as this fence.
Okay.
Triplets are always, dancing. Even in a slow tempo, they're always there for a reason. For seasoning. Enjoy that triplet too. One more time.
Okay.
Time dragged heavy and slow. And it's low in your voice, and these pitches are still going to be coming for you, I think. Right? So, time dragged heavy and slow. So really use the SL to help that lower pitch speak. Time, when you're ready.
Time dragged heavy and slow, what April came and August went, before I knew just what they meant.
Very good. Now, lists are always very, very interesting in songs, okay? But April came and August went. Realize that for many of the people, they won't have heard this before, okay? And it's in English. So a marvelous thing, right? They might actually, hear words. Right? But you know what it was that, well, I'm old enough to remember when surtitles were introduced. And there was a huge hue and cry about it. But the research showed even then that if you went to a top German opera house with German singers singing for a German audience and an ideal acoustic, that at best 70% of the text could be understood. So you thank Mozart for repeating things 8 to 9 times. But I think the least that we can do then, especially if we're singing in the vernacular, is really, really do everything we can to tell the story. And we will convert people to our art form when they hear us do that. So, and let me see you thinking. This is what acting is, right? It's thinking, it's listening, it's responding. It's not always brouhaha. But April came and August went. Let me hear you think.
But April came and August went.
Just take a little bit more time. But April came and August went. There's nothing going on underneath you. Those eighth notes don't need to be equal. They're never equal, right? They just aren't.
But April came and August went.
Good, very good. I love it. Now you took the time. Keep the legato going. Okay? One more time.
But April
he writes, before I knew just what they meant, with a crescendo
Oh.
to mezzo forte. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's always revealing. I mean, when I go back to a score that I've sung many times and look at the detail, what you forget is kind of amazing. I can't remember who it was. Somebody like Stokowski or something like that used to take a new full score when he was undertaking a production for the man was made out of money. You know? He didn't want the markets of. He wanted to rethink what he was doing. Now, we have erasers for that, but if you're a conductor. So can I hear that? Because I think we're going to get a lovely contrast. This time you sang Little by Little I Grew, and it was not the forte that you sang the first time. It was controlled, and it was what was written. I loved both of them. But if you're going to sing that grew, the way you did just now, then I would like to have a contrast to the mezzo forte before I knew just what they meant, and little by little I grew, just as you did.
Okay.
So we get the contrast. Eh? So can we pick it up that April came in August? That's getting better.
But April came and August went before I knew just what they meant. And little I grew. And as I grew, I came to know how fast the time would go.
Very good. It's wonderful, wonderful singing. You don't mind me fussing like this, do you? Okay, good. Well, no, I mean, it's kind of unfair, you know. You keep stopping them. And in a lot of ways, you just want to let them sing for 30 measures and kind of get it going. But then you're not really doing anything. You only have so long, right? It's not a voice lesson. It's how do you feel? How did you feel just now when you sang Rue? If it's my agent, tell him about that. How did you feel when you were singing Rue?
I think I liked it the time I did it before.
Yeah.
But
It's all fine. I think what I want to, I agree with you. I agree with you. Don't feel like you have to get tight to get quiet. Okay? I would rather go with your sound. Okay? Metronome markings, 72 is 72 for everybody, right? Piano and forte are different for every voice based on their volume, okay? Based on the sound that they can produce. So don't get hung up on decrescendo to piano short. There's a fermata short, please. So just sing it, okay? And if you want to decrescendo, if you can decrescendo, that's great. Think about shedding weight, just letting it go, letting it fly off like that. Not in arms, of course. Yeah. But don't tighten up. Let's go back to but April came and August went.
But April came and August went.
Sorry, I forgot. Can you round that sound in came?
Okay.
It's just a little bit. Can you just warm it up for me? I could be more specific than that, but sometimes it's just helpful to let them figure it out.
But April came and August went before I knew just what they meant. And little by little I grew. And as I grew, I came to know how fast the time would go.
Okay, first of all, magnificent singing. We both agreed. You and I caught each other's eye. I did it. You see that? I did it. That's wonderful. Now, I would love to see a little bit more on your, Lori's very young face of realization. And as I grew, I came to know how fast the time could go. Can you just show me something like that? This is all new for her. If you ask me, I can tell you very, very well how quickly time can go. But these are new discoveries for her. So can you show me some of that innocent discovery on your face as you sing that? Grew was magnificent. Can we just go from an as I grew, I came to know? again so you know it's not an accent.
Thank you.
it's a great, great gift. No, it's a great gift, and everyone has gifts. They're all different, right? Learning how to exploit them and not take them for granted. You've probably been told, well, use it. I bought a recorder when I was taking voice lessons before many of you were born, and I mean that literally. And I think that Sony recorder cost me $1,200. It was $300 for a night, whatever. You all have it all on your phone. But do you think I can get my students to video themselves in a practice studio and just look at what's going on? You have a wonderful face, never let it drop. Okay? Like those low notes that we're still learning how to find. Don't let them drop either. Right? But what a great group of students.